Before the age of men, before the forging of the great rings, before even the first rising of the sun and moon, there were the Elves, the firstborn children of Ilúvatar. They awoke in the starlit darkness of Middle-earth, in an age when the world was young and full of wonder, but it was not until some journeyed to the blessed realm of Valinor that the true power began to manifest. The tales we share today span thousands of years, crossing the ages of Middle-earth like interwoven threads in a grand tapestry. These stories do not follow the straight road of time, for the power of the Eldar cannot be measured merely by when they walked beneath the stars, but by the echoes they left in the very fabric of Arda itself. The elves who made the great journey were divided into three kindreds: the Vonyar, the most noble and closest to the Valar; the Noldor, the most skilled in craft and lore; and the Teleri, the singers and shipwrights who loved the sea. In Valinor, under the light of the two trees, Telperion and Lorelem, the elves reached the height of their power and wisdom. They learned from the Valar themselves, each kindred developing their own unique strengths and abilities. But it was the Noldor, driven by pride, ambition, and the desire for vengeance, who would return to Middle-earth, forever changing its destiny. Among them were some of the most powerful beings ever to walk beneath the stars. Today, we explore the lives and legacies of these mighty beings, whose powers were as diverse as they were extraordinary. Some wielded strength of arms, others mastery of song and craft, and still others possessed wisdom that could pierce the very veils of time. Before we dive into this list of the most powerful elves in Middle-earth, I want to clarify something important. This isn't a ranking. The elves here are listed in no particular order of power or influence. Each of them stands out in their own way, and trying to rank them would be like comparing the light of different stars. Each shines uniquely. With that said, let's begin our journey through these legendary beings. Perhaps it is fitting to begin not with the Noldor, but with one who surpassed them all. Lúthien Tinúviel, daughter of Milian the Maya and the Thingol, High King of the Sindar. In her flowed the blood of both the Eldar and the Divine, making her the most powerful elf who ever lived. Her power was not in sword or craft, but in song and enchantment. Such was her beauty and grace that flowers sprang forth wherever she danced, and her voice could weave spells that even the Valar heeded. Her greatest deeds surpassed even the mighty acts of the Noldor princes. Where armies failed, Lúthien succeeded. She entered Angband itself, and with song alone cast down Morgoth, mightiest of all beings in Arda, into sleep. Through her power, a Silmaril was recovered, achieving what the entire host of the Noldor could not. But perhaps her greatest power lay in her choice. For love of Beren, she surrendered her immortality, changing the very fate the Valar had set for the Eldar. Her decision would echo through the ages, creating a lineage that would shape the destiny of both elves and men. Never again shall one arise with power so great, in song and mind and hand combined. These words, spoken by the Valar themselves, encapsulated the singular might of Fëanor, greatest of all the Noldor. His very birth reshaped the destiny of the Eldar. His mother Miriel surrendered her immortal life in bringing him into the world, saying, "Never again shall I bear child, for strength that would have nourished the life of many has gone forth into Fëanor." His genius knew no bounds. While still young, he improved upon the Elvish writing system, creating the Tengwar script that would endure through all ages of Middle-earth. He crafted the Palantiri, seeing stones that could pierce through space itself. Yet these were mere preludes to his greatest work. In the Silmarils, Fëanor captured something that even the Valar thought impossible, the living light of the two trees of Valinor. As Mandos prophesied, the fate of Arda lies locked within them. These jewels would drive the greatest exodus in Elvish history, and spark wars that would reshape Middle-earth forever. When Morgoth stole the Silmarils and destroyed the two trees, Fëanor's reaction changed the course of history. His terrible oath, sworn with his 7 sons, would haunt the Noldor for ages to come. Be he friend or foe, be he foul or clean, brood of Morgoth or bright Vala, we will pursue with vengeance and hatred to the ends of the world. If Fëanor was fire, then Fingolfin was steel, tempered, controlled, yet no less deadly. As High King of the Noldor, he combined wisdom with unmatched martial prowess, earning the title Valiant among a people known for their courage. During the Dagor Bragolach, when rivers of flame burst forth from Angband and broke the long siege, Fingolfin witnessed his realm in ruins. Yet in this darkest hour, his true power emerged. Riding alone across the charred wasteland of Anfauglit, he challenged Morgoth himself to single combat. Such was his wrath that the Dark Lord could not refuse without losing face before his servants. 7 times, Fingolfin wounded the mightiest being in Arda. 7 times, Morgoth's black blood stained the ground. The duel shook the foundations of the earth itself, as Grond, the hammer of the underworld, carved great pits in its attempt to strike the Elven king. Even in death, Fingolfin's last act was to slash at Morgoth's foot, ensuring the Dark Lord would limp for all eternity. Among Fëanor's 7 sons, Maedhros the Tall stood both literally and figuratively above the rest. His power lay not just in his martial skill, but in his ability to unite the divided houses of the Noldor even after generations of mistrust. Captured by Morgoth and hung by his right wrist from the precipices of Tangorodrim, Maedhros endured 30 years of torture without breaking. When his cousin Fingon came to his rescue, he demonstrated his incredible strength of will by demanding his own hand be cut off rather than risk his cousin's life. After learning to fight with his left hand, becoming even more deadly than before, Maedhros' greatest achievement was diplomatic. He created the Union of Maedhros, the greatest alliance of elves and men ever assembled, nearly achieving what his father had failed to do, the overthrow of Morgoth. Eärendil Gil-galad, whose name means Star of Radiance, embodied the culmination of Noldoran power in Middle-earth. As the last High King of the Noldor, he wielded not only great military might, but also the wisdom garnered from the tragedies of the First Age. His spear Eglos was feared throughout Middle-earth, as cold and deadly as its name, Snow Poinas suggested. He bore both Vilja, the Ring of Air, and for a time, Narya, the Ring of Fire. Under his leadership, Lindon became the greatest realm of the Elves in the Second Age. In the final battle against Sauron, Gil-galad demonstrated the power that matched the greatest of his ancestors. Together with Eärendil, he fought Sauron himself in single combat. Though he fell, his sacrifice helped achieve what generations before him could not, the defeat of a Dark Lord. Unique among all the Eldar stands Glorfindel, for death itself could not diminish his power. In the fall of Gondolin, he faced a Balrog in single combat upon the precipice of Cirith Thoronaf, sacrificing himself to save the refugees of the hidden city. But such was his nobility and power that the Valar themselves granted him return from the halls of Mandos. When he returned to Middle-earth in the Second Age, his might was greater than before. He existed simultaneously in both the seen and unseen worlds, appearing to mortals as a figure of living light. At the ford of Bruinen, 5 Nazgûl fled before him, for in him they saw the power of the blessed realm itself. Even Sauron's greatest servants feared to face one who had returned from death with the blessing of the Valar. Among all the elves of the First Age, none could rival Maglor in the power of voice and song. Second son of Fëanor, his music could move armies to tears or rage, heal wounds of the spirit, and even influence the very fabric of reality. His greatest song, the Noldolante, told the tragedy of his people's exile and their terrible deeds. Such was his power that it is said the very waves of the sea still echo with his endless lament, as he walks the shores, singing of the sorrows of the Noldor. Ecthelion of the Fountain, Lord of Gondolin, achieved perhaps the greatest single feat of arms in the First Age. Commander of the greatest guards in any elven city, his tactical genius was matched only by his personal combat prowess. During the fall of Gondolin, he faced Gothmog, Lord of Balrogs, and Morgoth's greatest captain. In a duel that became legend, he drove the spike of his helmet into the demon's chest as they fell together into the Fountain of the King. Thus fell the greatest Balrog who ever existed, slain by Ecthelion's final act of courage. Fingon earned his epithet the Valiant, not just through courage but through loyalty that transcended the feuds of his people. His rescue of Maedhros from Tangarodrim became legend, where he scaled the unscalable peaks with nothing but his courage and a song. As High King of the Noldor, he led the charge in the Nirnaeth Arnoediad, the battle of unnumbered tears. His host drove so deep into the armies of Morgoth that they could see the gates of Angband itself. Even when betrayed and surrounded, he fought to the last, falling only to Gothmog himself. Though half-elven, Eärendil's power transcended the boundaries of both kindreds. He achieved what no other had done, reaching Valinor during the ban of the Valar, bearing a Silmaril across the sky in his ship Gil-galad. His greatest deed came during the War of Wrath, where he slew Ankhelagon the Black, greatest of all dragons, in the sky above Tangarodrim. Now he sails forever as the Evening Star, bearing the last Silmaril through the heavens, a symbol of hope to all peoples of Middle-earth. Last but certainly not least, we come to Galadriel, whose power endured the longest in Middle-earth. Born in Valinor, she studied under both the Valar and the Maiar, learning wisdom and arts that would make her the most powerful elf, remaining in Middle-earth during the Third Age. With Nenya, the Ring of Water, she maintained Lothlorien as a realm outside of time, but her greatest display of power came when she refused the one ring freely offered to her, passing the test that so many others had failed. Power of the elves manifested in many forms throughout the ages. Some, like Fëanor and his son, burned bright and fast, leaving indelible marks on history. Others, like Galadriel, let their power grow slowly, like the roots of a mighty tree. Each represented a different aspect of elvish might: craft, combat, wisdom, music, leadership. Yet all were bound by the same fate, to fade as the dominion of men grew. When we consider these mighty beings, each powerful in their own unique way, we must ask ourselves, who truly was the greatest among them? Was it Lúthien, who alone brought down Morgoth? Fëanor, whose creations changed the fate of the world? Or perhaps Fingolfin, who wounded the Dark Lord 7 times in single combat? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Fellowship of the Lore for more deep dives into Middle-earth's history.